hey, you know what? We found some votes. We found some actual United States votes from the 2014 election. And I'm going to just sneak my hand in there real quickly if it's okay. Hi. Hello. Apparently, white males comprise, and we figured probably about 25% of the electorate in the United States. Because the electorate's about 50-50 whites and non-whites. But keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on the floating.
That's right, because these look like white man's toenails.
They look
right?
like these are seashells,
shells.
and they're actually called. Their generic name is old man's toenails. And if anybody who's ever seen an old man's toenails will readily agree that maybe it's not quite as thick as an old man's toenail, but these are well-named seashells. Sorry, Candy. Candy's been to the beach and she'll never look at these the same way anymore, because whenever she sees these things, she's going to be thinking,
that's right.
Oh my God, it's old men's toenails. So anyway, so here you go. You've got 75% of the electorate of the voters being comprised of 25% of the voting, and I'll work backwards on that. About 50-50 in America, white and non-white. Agreed. About roughly. It might be 48-52, something like that. Of the white vote, of that 50% approximately, about half men, half women. So that makes white men about 25% of the electorate in the United States. Now, how in the world did 25% of the electorate comprise 75% of the turnout? Now we don't have that. There are very many shenanigans anymore. I mean, the voting machines across America have gotten a lot better. Connecticut, we recount 10% of the precincts, hand count them, so we know that our votes are absolutely spot on accurate. Can you give us a wide shot now? Thank you.
We had some more issues too. I mean, here we are with Wayne Winsley, guest for today. Thank you. Why don't we introduce our guest here, David?
Well, let's go. First of all,
you're talking about old white guys' toenails. I had nothing to say.
No, but there were some issues, like how when Malloy said he went to visit in Hartford, was it that the voting lists didn't even come in till late?
Hartford had an issue, yep.
And then you were saying in New Haven.
No, Naugatuck.
Sorry.
Yours truly, Wayne Winsley, wound up on the ballot.
That's right.
I got like 3 votes.
And you won in 2012.
Other than that, the ballots were pretty darn good in the United States, and especially good here in Connecticut relative to anywhere else. But before I go any further, host of the show, Emily Volpintesta.
And with David Stevenson.
Yeah, I'm not that other guy. I'm that other guy that sits around in the show and yaks. And our guest, the esteemed Wayne Winsley. Who has an incredible background in broadcasting.
That's right.
In
professional
speaking, an author.
Broadcasting.
He has been a candidate for the United States Congress for the House of Representatives against Rosa DeLauro, and did pretty well, got 30% of the vote, because that's about all anybody ever gets against Rosa DeLauro. And Wayne did it based on pretty much, what was your budget, about $1.50?
Just about. $60,000. I got 73,000 votes, so that made me pretty economical. I paid less per vote than Linda McMahon.
Oh, there you go.
That's like $10,000 per vote.
That probably says something very good about you, and probably says something very bad about Linda McMahon. But so here we go. We've got these voters represented by old man's toenails.
Yeah. So what's what do you have to say about the turnout of who turned out for this election this past
Why was turnout the way it was?
In my opinion, I think it was a matter of who was more motivated to get out to the polls. Some people, I'm just going to put it out there, a lot of folks across the board that you were talking about didn't turn out because President Obama wasn't on the ticket, so they didn't care. They voted for him twice, they were done.
Yep.
So there's that.
Okay.
And, a lot
of agreement. Go ahead.
Also, one thing that a lot of people underestimate, a lot of people that did turn out were really fed up with the way that this country is headed.
But that's kind of how the electorate always is. Electorate's always
exactly.
Politicians get blamed for everything. This goes back to day one. They blame Washington for stuff. I'm sure a lot of people said he's only been president for about 2 years, but you know, the guy's ruining the country. But at any rate, so you have this voter backlash.
Sure.
Absolutely, voter backlash against politicians in general, and yet you had states like let's pick out North Carolina. That's a good example. North Carolina and a lot of other states where you had Democratic Party candidates running for the House and for the Senate. They said, well, you know, President Obama is not very popular in our state, so let's just say to President Obama, you know, hey, don't come here. Stay away from here. Don't come. Don't stand. Kay Hagan said, don't, for God's sakes, whatever you do, don't mention my name. Don't come to North Carolina. Don't stand by me. Well, there's a pretty fair electorate out of North Carolina, which is Democratic. It's a pretty fair number. And some of them are more motivated than others to come out, partly because it's done.
But you're also not mentioning another reason for some people who aren't the toenails to stay home. That's the fact that a lot of people in the Democratic side of things were upset with the people that they have representing them, that they weren't motivated to support those people. What about the people who were running, those Democratic senators and Congress people who got turned out? Their own constituents washed their hands of them.
One of the key principles, one of the key founding principles of the Democratic Party right now, one of the big issues that Democrats kind of align behind is on the subject of immigration. That's a big issue with us. It's a big anti-issue with Republicans, but it's a big issue with Democrats. President Obama made a decision, with some help, that he would not do anything on immigration till after the election. I'm going to put out there, and you can comment on, that if he had done like Lincoln did with the Emancipation Proclamation, if he had gone out there and had said, okay, I'm the president, I have this ability by the Constitution to supersede, to go around Congress and say 3, 4, 5, 10 million immigrants are now U.S. citizens. If he had done that, he would have had a lot better support, a lot stronger support from those non-white groups that believe that we need to have more reasonable immigration policies. Your turn.
Let's start with our borders, period.
Okay.
We're a nation of immigrants. I have nothing against immigration. In fact, I think the three of us at this table can trace our roots from someplace other than the shores of America.
Right, of course.
But
Italy,
why not
Ireland? And have you taken it back to any particular part of Africa?
Not really. I can trace on my father's side, I can trace my lineage back to the first person that came here on a slave ship. Was owned by a doctor in Quitman, Georgia. And she married a non-slave, a Cherokee Indian, which is how I became part Cherokee. Cool. But I digressed.
But it's important though. It's important talking about what our lineages are.
Yeah. So we represent that melting pot here at this table.
Absolutely.
However, and I said this during the campaign when I ran, at the very least, we should be as secure as the local Holiday Inn. What I mean by that is, at a Holiday Inn or any other hotel, you can stay there. They don't care what you look like. They don't care where you're from. They don't care your persuasion. None of that.
The color green is green is the color they see.
Right.
Likewise in real estate, George Shaker taught me that there's only one color you see in real estate, and that's green.
Right.
However, there is one small requirement. At the Holiday Inn or any other hostel or hotel, they require you to check in just so that they know who's there and who's staying there. At the very least, America should secure our borders, at least to the point that those coming in have to check in so that we know who's here. And there is a little bit of a vetting process. Because, trust me, the day after someone walks across our borders and does something really heinous, then we're going to have a wall. Then we're going to have, because there's people that are...
If that's ever happened, I'm sure it has, but probably not much.
But there are people who are calling for things like a wall and all this stuff right now. Well,
like a fortress.
Yeah, there are those that, that are of a more extreme opinion than mine right now. My point is this. We should secure our borders, okay, just so that we know who's coming here, and just like any other country, we're a sovereign nation, and we do have laws. You don't get to just break the law and say, well, the immigration laws, those are inconvenient and those are mean, and we're not going to enforce those. No. Because then you lose.
I have a question. I have a question
the right to enforce any other law.
I have a question for you.
Where do you draw a line?
Have immigration laws changed dramatically during the course of our history as a country?
Not dramatically.
But I want to be just pretend for a moment. I'm Mexican, and I'm standing outside that door of the Holiday Inn, and I've been standing outside that door of the Holiday Inn in America for, let's say, 10, 15, 20 years. And the Holiday Inn says, you know what? We can't let you stay here because even though you've been here 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you don't have the proper documentation to get into our Holiday Inn. We don't know who you are because you don't have a birth certificate that shows even though you've been in the United States working 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Sorry, you can't come in. That's what I disagree with. I disagree with the time frame that people have to wait to become American citizens. My grandparents.
That's a bureaucracy problem.
My grandparents.
Can be fixed.
My dad's parents got here back in the day, 1910, about 1910. They came from Ireland. They got to the United States. They got to Ellis Island, and the guy at the Ellis Island, the doctor checked them out, made sure that they were okay. They didn't speak English. They spoke Gaelic. Although they learned English like many modern-day immigrants do. They learned to speak English and become bilingual at the very least. My grandparents had a guy waiting for them. Hey, George. Hey, Wilhelmina. Come on in. And they were in. And bada bing, they were American citizens. Bada bing. Just like that. That was back in 1910.
Yeah, usually.
Why wouldn't it be that way for Mexicans nowadays?
Again, that's a bureaucracy problem. We should streamline the process. Streamlining the process and making it easier for people to obey the law is totally different from disregarding the law. And securing our borders is different than not letting anyone in. Those are two different things.
Is it right for people who have been here 5, 10, 15, 20 years and not be citizens yet? Is that right? Is that right, just, and moral? Or any of the three?
Well, if you snuck across the border and you've been here 10, 15 years, then no, it's not right, but the impetus is on you for sneaking in. Okay? I'm sorry. Sneak into North Korea.
Right.
Try it. Wander across the border into Iran.
Quite frankly,
seriously.
Quite frankly, this is not North Korea. This is not Iran. And,
no, it's not.
And thank God.
No, exactly.
Because this is the United States, and we're different. We're better than that. We're better than that.
Sure, but what I'm saying to you, though, is other sovereign nations protect their borders. And those are the two extreme examples, and I use those purposely because, yes, something really bad will happen to you. But even here in the United States, why is it suddenly, is it racist or is it xenophobic or whatever you want to call it?
Because 95% of them are non-whites, or at least well, Mexicans will tell you they're white, and I think, and I can't disagree with them because I'm not Mexican.
But as the only black guy sitting at the table, I'm going to tell you right now, I love my fellow black and brown people. I love my white people. I'm married to a beautiful white lady. Okay, fine. But guess what? Got a very beautiful
and she's coming on the
child.
show. She's coming back. She's coming back to the show because she's a great author.
So
here's the point. All immigrants to our great country are welcome, but let's have it an orderly, law-abiding process. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, because we wouldn't want to let, if we let anybody in, what if they do something bad?
And I'm telling you.
And I would counter to that, what's the likelihood? And I would say probably pretty much like everybody else, probably unlikely.
Really? It was unlikely that somebody would fly planes into a building.
Exactly, like September 11th.
It was unlikely.
How did they get in our country?
Okay, no.
They were Saudis, weren't they?
Okay.
Well, I don't know.
They weren't Iraqis, they were Saudis. But again, go ahead.
But my point is, I'm telling you.
Right, exactly, I agree.
The day after somebody walks across one of our borders and does something truly heinous, then all of a sudden we're going to want to lock our borders down. All I am saying to you is, let's secure our borders now, and let's really, for me, immigration reform is making it so a friend of mine who is married to a beautiful lady from Slovakia is trying to do the right thing, has come here the right way, make it easier for her to become a citizen, make it easier for the person who is coming across who just wants a better life for their family.
Right, exactly.
Make it easier for them to do so and obey the law, because guess what? That makes our country is stronger. When we attract the biggest, the best and brightest from across the world, our country benefits. When we secure our borders so that we know that people are coming here for the right reasons, our country benefits.
I think we've got about 10, 15 million Central Americans, which have been, a lot of them been here for a very long time and been doing the right thing as far as going to work. I think they need to be citizens.
Which is why when I was asked when I ran for Congress, well, Wayne, what about the 12 to 15 million illegal immigrants now? Shouldn't they be rounded up and deported? And my answer was, I think America would watch that on television for about 30 seconds before they realized it was a bad idea.
The 12 to 15 million illegal immigrants left.
No, not try to do it.
Oh, okay.
If I were
do you know how ugly and bloody that would be?
Yeah.
If I were to say undocumented workers, would that
30
be
30 seconds ago? Oh, well, that was a wrong idea.
Which term do you prefer? Illegal immigrants or undocumented workers? Which one? Is there one that rings truer to you over the other one?
Illegal immigrant.
Okay.
You're here illegal. You broke the law.
Right.
If I am driving down the road with a non-registered vehicle, I am an illegal driver. If I have no insurance, I am not an undocumented driver.
Right. No.
No. I am driving illegally.
And how do you become a documented driver? You go to the DMV and you fill out some forms, and then you're a documented driver. Unfortunately for immigrants, it's not that simple.
Again, that's a bureaucracy problem.
Right,
Let's fix that. I'm willing to work on that. Let's fix it and make it easier for people to obey the law.
Okay, you're the Congress. How do you fix it?
You start with number one. We pass legislation that actually meaningfully secures our borders so that we can get control of the flow coming in.
Okay.
Next, you take a look at the process for vetting someone, to working them through the citizenship process, without being in Congress right now and without actually looking at the nuts and bolts of the whole immigration system. You're
as smart as any of them. So go ahead.
You're
as smart as any of them, and probably a lot smarter than a lot of them.
You make it about as complicated as enlisting someone into the military. I was vetted pretty darn well when I went into our nation's United States Navy. So there is a way to streamline the process.
No, and it's true. And even when I go abroad, I mean, you go through, they arm their borders, I mean, going through security, and they make it difficult to go in and out. So I can understand it's true. I mean, everyone should have to go through, even as a U.S. citizen.
And Italy's got a lot of miles of border along the ocean, along the Adriatic and the Mediterranean. So there's a lot of miles of borders there too.
Heck, you're native Ireland. They don't let anybody wander in. I mean, there's a process. You got to check. I'm from Southern Blarney.
They let me in. they let me in back in 2003 for a couple of weeks.
No, I can understand. I think you're right. I mean, I know in Europe and Italy, a lot of Albanians come come in, on the Adriatic coast, and a lot of Indians, Pakistani, and when you have a lot of different populations, they might not necessarily get along, and that can cause tensions and fighting. So I can understand.
But it also gives them an opportunity to meet new people that they never met before, and make it a better, stronger country, like America's become by having so many different groups from so many different places. The great melting pot that America is.
Yeah. I'm going to, if I may, I want to point out something, because you talked about the melting pot and everything.
Yeah.
And then one of the strengths of America that I think goes unnoticed, we are also, think about this now, this is a country that used to own people like me.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
My great-great-grandfather was property. Now, in America, when the chains came off after the Civil War, usually in history, the population that is oppressed usually leaves, or there is some separation.
Right.
Okay, America decided that we are going to make this work. We are going to make this population that was less than human in the eyes of many equal to all under the Constitution. It's been a long, hard process, but America did the hard thing. And I think that we have done remarkably well, and it speaks to the spirit and soul that is this country.
Yes.
True.
You want to talk about immigration, we already have done the ultimate immigration. In reaching the point that, for my great-grandmother who raised me, the idea of a black man being president was ridiculous to her.
Wow.
Couldn't be done. So don't tell me we can't fix something as relatively easy as securing our borders so that we can smoothly continue to immigrate.
Let me flip that toenail on its head for a second. And I think after blacks gained their freedom, which actually didn't happen until the amendment was passed, because Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which should be very much parallel to President Obama signing an executive order that says 10 million non-Americans are now Americans. Pretty much the same thing. Lincoln signed an executive order, Emancipation Proclamation, which made blacks temporarily citizens. They weren't really citizens and weren't really free until the constitutional amendment, which Lincoln pushed very hard. Good movie, Lincoln. Watch it. It shows you how difficult it is to be a president, and how difficult it is to get something passed that, in retrospect, we think of that amendment. They just passed it.
Right.
They walked into the Congress one day and said, okay, we agree, passed, done.
Nope.
Slavery's over. It took a lot of arm twisting.
Of course.
But blacks after the Civil War, they were given the opportunity to go back, free passage back, and they created a country in Africa known as Liberia. And they said to blacks, look, we'll pay your way back. We'll send you back to Africa on our nickel. We're sorry we brought you here. It was unfair. We will send you back to Africa if you want to go. And almost none did. Most of them said, look, we've seen America. We love this country. We want to be a part of this country. We're staying. And that speaks well of America, I think.
Absolutely.
The fact that they did not take the opportunity to go back.
I will tell you that one of the reasons for me, because you think about it, we're talking about people who were slaves for generations, okay? Yeah. I am uniquely a product of America. My language, the language of my ancestors, lost.
Yeah.
Okay? It was illegal for the slaves to speak their native language. So my language, I speak American English.
Right.
My traditions, my everything, my culture, everything is uniquely American.
You became part of that great experiment, that great melting pot.
Yeah. So if you want to ask me what I am and what I tell my children, I am an American.
Yeah.
I am a product of this country. My heritage is this. My ancestry is African.
Yeah.
But all of my connections and everything like that. So to a degree,
it's what you've known, it's what you've lived, and it's who you are.
Black citizens are uniquely a product of this country. And the country that I love is this one. And because I look and I, like a lot of immigrants, appreciate that whole promise of America thing, that's a real thing.
It's a great promise.
Yeah.
It's a great promise.
That you can come to this place, and it doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter who your folks are, anything. You can come here with an idea, $1 and a dream, or even just a dream and not $1.
Right.
And there's nothing stopping you from being anything you want to do.
And there's about 10, 15, 20 million people that would give their eye teeth to do all the good and all the bad of being American. They want to pay taxes. Who the heck wants to pay taxes? All these immigrants want to pay taxes. They want to be above board. They want to be here. They want to be Americans. They've learned to speak the language with a very few exceptions, even though amongst themselves, just like
that's fine.
Just like the Irish came here and they spoke Gaelic amongst themselves, but in mixed company they spoke English.
That's your culture. You get to do that.
Italians. You're with Mama. You're with Grandmama at Sunday dinner, and you're speaking Italian.
Right.
You leave Grandmama. You go out in the general public and you speak English.
Right.
Same
American English. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Same thing with all the folks that are here now. They've learned the language. They've gone to ESL classes. They want desperately to have all the good and the bad, as I mentioned, taxes.
Right.
All the good and the bad of being an American citizen. And I think, my personal opinion, not the opinion of Comcast, not the opinion of Wayne Winsley, Emily Volpintesta, or necessarily anybody else. My personal opinion is let them be citizens and pay taxes and be a complete and integral part of this great country we call America. My rant's over.
I'm just thinking that sometimes, I've worked in a hotel, I worked in a hotel here, and you get a lot of South American or Central American immigrants, and sometimes they don't want to learn the language or even adapt to the culture.
Amongst themselves, they'll speak the language of their native country. You go back to Italy, where you speak in English or you speak in Italian.
But I mean,
there you go.
I think what the point Emily's making, though, is that the language of America is English. The language of success in this country is English. And that, I think, should stay. It's one of those ties that binds us together as brothers and sisters in this country, is that we speak a common tongue.
And with that, we're going to have to break away. We're going to come back and we're going to do a second show. This show is on, obviously, Wednesday night, 9:30. The second show is going to be on tomorrow, Thursday, at noon 30, or 12:30, as some of you folks say. We're going to talk about a fellow by the name of Ben Carson, a very prominent black citizen of America, great physician, neurosurgeon, and he and the president have a little bit of, let's say, a little bit of disagreement on some issues. We're going to talk about that. We're going to come back. This has been Progressive Soup. Host Emily Volpintesta, some guy over here that says a couple things once in a while, David Stevenson, and the esteemed Wayne Winsley. Is there a way to reach you?
Absolutely. You can go to my website, winsley.com, and
that's pretty easy.
All right there, WINSLEY.com, winsley.com. Check it out. And if you want to book me for a speech or anything like that, your event or whatever, go ahead.
And don't forget that the first 3 letters of Winsley